if you're a real estate agent, you probably struggle or have struggled with lead generation. And so this video is going to talk about the funnels that go into actually converting leads into booked clients and opportunities for you to get more transactions under your belt as a real estate agent. And also the pros and cons of these different funnels, the 3 funnels that I have seen working with hundreds of agents and getting thousands of qualified leads for agents across the country, which models I like the most, specifically which of these funnels that utilize social media and digital marketing. Obviously, referrals tend to convert the best, and you have these other things that you're probably using in your own business. However, I want to talk about things that you could actually try and implement that you might not already be using. So I want to talk about the 3 funnels here that I like most. Now, the first and easiest one here is something you've probably heard of before. And these names are the names that I've given them, so people might have other names for these things. But this is the straightforward model. This is simply running ads to try and get people to have a conversation with you, to work with them as a real estate agent. Now, this can also, and I have some examples here, look like maybe some kind of a lead magnet in there to get somebody to end up ultimately working with you as you representing them as the real estate agent. But it's a very streamlined process. It's that you're making an offer, you try to get people to need your services to book a call with you, and that's that. I'm going to get into more specifics in a second here. But now the next one here is what I like to call the trust building funnel. Now, the trust building funnel is really nice because what it does is it kind of attacks the biggest issue that you're going to have with the straightforward method, right? Now, these are different models, but of course you can interchange them together. But this funnel specifically, the trust building funnel, this is where you're essentially leveraging not necessarily the highest volume, but more or less so the highest impact, right? You're trying to lead with your best foot forward, so to speak. And you're trying to establish a lot of trust, a lot of authenticity, and you're trying to start the relationship off on a really good note, and less of a volume standpoint, but more of like a quality. And that's leading with some sort of let's say like a free downloadable, for instance, is an example, but not my favorite example of one of those trust building things, where you're establishing yourself as an expert, you're providing value, you're actually making somebody's life better before you try to sell them on your services. And because of that, it can be a little bit easier on the conversion side, but harder on the scaling side. And I'll talk about those pros and cons in just a second. Now, the last one here is the relationship building. If I can spell, I can't spell when talking. The relationship building, forgot the L, funnel here. So the relationship building funnel here is basically the trust building funnel on steroids. This is where you're really kind of going outside of the box here to help to build a strong relationship to where it's kind of like you're establishing yourself as friends before you're ending up trying to recruit any kind of business, right? And so it can be insanely effective at actually getting conversions, and it will feel so natural when it actually does end up working. But of course, there are some limitations here. So let's jump into some specific examples and the limitations of each, because the goal here is to help you figure out what might be the best one for you, for your business, and what your goals are. So jumping into the different examples here. So in the straightforward method, what we have here is let's say book your call now, right? Book a call with an agent now, or book a call to talk with me about your home that you're looking to sell or how to buy a home in the area right now. Very straightforward, no fluff, right to the point, right? Another example is just sell your home today, and just talking more about hey, if you're looking to sell your home, here's how we can do that. Here's how we can help you do that very quickly, or here's a guarantee that will help you sell your home immediately, right? You're really appealing just to the folks who are really looking to solve that one particular issue right now. Now, in the trust building method, this is where we have an example such as, your free home assessment, right? So let's say you put in your zip code and all that kind of stuff, and you have an apparatus on your website that's going to look at the home and say, oh, well, here are some comparables. Here's what you could expect in this kind of a market thing. That's obviously a tech version of providing value first. Another example is a free coaching call, right? Where let's say you jump on the phone and say hey, if you're looking to buy or sell your home anywhere near in the future, I'm an expert in real estate in the market here in San Diego. And so give me a call and I want to walk you through. This isn't a sales pitch. This isn't I'm ready to buy my home now. This is specifically an opportunity to get free expertise from a professional and understand things that you might need to do before you try and sell your home, or things you might need to know 5 weeks out or 5 months out or 5 years out from buying your home in this market, and how you can prep for the best possible sale or the best possible purchase, and again, totally free, right? That's leading with trust. You're putting your expertise out there. You're trying to make them associate you with success, and also just get a little bit of reciprocity there, right? You're trying to benefit them in a way that they want to work with you because you've already helped them. And it's going to be a little bit easier on the sales side of things to do that. And then last, on the relationship building, this is basically like let's say a local event. Let's say you host some kind of event or giveaway, or like it's hard to tell if like trust building or relationship building, where like a seminar, like a free seminar would be. It kind of fits in between those. But this is basically where like you're having like a meet and greet. It's definitely in person, or if it's online, it's like a highly engaged thing. A great example I have of an agent doing this is an agent I'm working with who's based out in the Bay Area, who has a poker night. And they do this yearly or a couple times a year, this poker night where they get a bunch of people together and they just host a poker night at their house. And that's it. That's the entire funnel there. And what ends up happening is that as they go on and they have like 100 people there and they pay for a prize, and they do this thing, they host it, they go through all this effort. Obviously the person, the agent likes poker, so there's a natural benefit in there. They get to have their poker things. But also it just naturally it comes up that like, if somebody's going to buy or sell their home, you're right there. You have a relationship with them already. It's kind of like building a friendship, because that eventually that friend might need to buy or sell a home, and it makes sense to work with you because they already know you, like you, and trust you, right? Makes a lot of sense. However, can be hard to scale. And that brings us into the pros and cons of these different models here. So for the straightforward method, the pro here is that it is fast and simple. It is easy to change. This method is nimble, right? Because this is you essentially just putting up an ad that says, I'm an agent. If you need an agent, work with me. Better marketing language than that. But you have all these different things where you can flexibly, change the offer a little bit, or add this other thing, or try these different, graphics or whatever it might be. And it's very quick because all you're really doing, the only call to action there is basically booking an appointment with you, which you can do, set up with Calendly or built out through your CRM, or just give you a call, right? And that's where you can just like really quickly set that up. Now, the issue is that you need a really good system, honestly. So many people are doing this, which is the other con there, that you need to have a really great system to be able to stand out. And it's kind of at a space now where like you really can't have something lacking there. It needs to have insane ease of use, because the friction of this funnel is really on the sales side. Right? It's not hard to get leads that way. There's a ton, no matter what service or platform you're using, Facebook, Instagram, Meta, LinkedIn, or I should say YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever it might be, all these different platforms make money by trying to create an easy lead generation system for businesses. So the system is really good at finding leads, right? That's where you'll find people, real estate agents, who have tried like, Facebook or Instagram lead form ads. And they've been like, yeah, I've been able to get a bunch of leads, but they're all low quality. Well, that might be the case because you either don't have a good system set up, like you don't have a good way of vetting and finding the right folks for you, or you might have a poor sales system. And this is something that people don't talk about enough, is that you might actually have a great marketing system, a really effective marketing system, but you might actually have really poor sales skills and not even realize that's what the issue is. And you say, oh, well, Facebook ads don't work because every time I get on the phone with these people, they don't want to talk with me or they don't remember me. That doesn't necessarily mean the ad was bad. That means that you did a poor job of conveying know, like, and trust, and building a relationship in the funnel and establishing yourself as someone who should be memorable and that can help them. Maybe your targeting was really bad on the ad side, which again, that's not necessarily the platform's fault. It just means that you may have not understood the way to go about building out this friction in a good way so that you only get quality people down the pipeline. And the funny thing about it is it's a sliding scale. What's nice about these ads, and what can be difficult about these ads, the straightforward funnel, I should say, is that you can really easily customize how many people you want versus how high intent of people do you want, right? Like if you want to have like a ton of leads and just kind of work a ton of leads, you can do that. But if you want to have like much fewer leads, but are higher quality leads, then you can do that too. And where you draw that line is a complete preference, right? You can really go any way you want. And some people really like to have a ton of leads. Some people only want to have one lead, but they want to have it to be like, a 40% chance of closing, right? And so that's customizable. You get that option, but if you don't know what you're doing, it can be hard to get the right path, right? Because it is something that you need to have a good system for, test these things out. It takes a lot of A/B testing to find the right system for you. And it's very easy to copy because there's such a low bar entry. You can really, just see your entire market, all the agents in the market doing the same system there. So you really need to differentiate yourself and find ways to kind of make your thing unique. And that's also why, by the way, it's not very memorable. Oftentimes people call leads and they don't remember who this was because you didn't do a good job of setting up some sort of a meeting or a cadence for them to know even what you're doing, right? That's where you can feel like the lead might be bad quality, but in reality, it's that you spent time and money to get this lead, but to them, it feels like a cold call because the system wasn't in place. And so that's some of the pros and cons of the straightforward method. Now, looking at the trust building method, this is a little bit nicer because the pros here is that it can still be fairly fast, especially considering that you're building trust. You can still make a fast system and not have to spend too long before you actually have a little bit of trust with your system. And it helps to cut through the noise. It can be more unique. Again, like an example being like a free home assessment or a free coaching call, right? That's a great opportunity to get on the phone, build, some trust there, establish yourself as a professional. And as long as you're not like a terrible person on the phone, you're still light years ahead of what all the other 1,000 agents in your market are doing, and you've at least had a conversation and understand some of the issues here with the actual client or the lead in question here. Now, you still need to have a decently good system, whether that's a good coaching call with a good offer there, because even though it's free, and this is a huge misconception with social media ads and just advertising in general, just because it's free doesn't mean it's worth it. And a lot of times we offer free things on social media and we think, okay, great, it's free, like everyone's gonna take it, right? But in reality, it's really, nothing's ever really free because there's always an opportunity cost of your time. Like you saying, yeah, it's a free coaching call, and somebody who sees that who might need expertise in like buying or selling their home, they might be like, okay, well, I do need information, but like this is gonna take an hour of my time and I don't know if this guy's good or not, right? I have no idea whether this is actually going to be that helpful. Like, just because I jump on the phone with him doesn't mean I'm going to have anything to take away from it. And so ultimately, if you don't express that value, it's actually not worth it, even though it feels for you like it's so valuable and you're giving it away for free, right? There's a disconnect, right? It's not a zero-sum game. Just because you give value doesn't mean it's valuable to them. And that's where it's important to understand the right model here. But regardless, you're still going off on the right foot a lot faster than the straightforward method. The straightforward method is just simply like, hey, I'm going to put a thing out there, and then whoever responds, I'm going to give them a call, right? And you're just going to get a lot of different levels of intent. And if you're not doing a good system, you're not necessarily going to build a good rapport with them. And so they won't remember you when you give them a call, which is not great. Whereas the trust building, you're at least going to likely have a conversation with these folks, and that's an easier way to build it. But now the cons are that it still spends more time. You need to have a good offer, and you need to also have a, test out how to present the best kind of method here for the actual client in question. And I'll give you an example that's a little bit out there, but this is for my own business. One method that I've used, because I've used all of these different methods to a degree, the trust building method is one that I'm constantly leaning more towards nowadays because it helps to cut through the noise. But what you end up doing is that in that funnel, for instance, what I did was that I would jump on a free coaching call. And I used to do cold emails. I'd reach out to a bunch of real estate agents from a cold list and say, hey, I have X amount of years of experience. I've helped all these people. I just want to help you get a strategy where you can get more views from people in your market looking to buy or sell a home, and also followers. There's some follower growth tactics that we use that we don't really use as much anymore, but sometimes we do. Just, it's very vague, but there you go. And so what we would do is we'd book a call. We'd jump on a call with somebody and we'd say like, hey, or I would jump on a call with somebody and say, hey, here's exactly what we do. Like, here's the system that I've run that's worked with people. Let's record this call so you know exactly how to do it yourself. I'm going to walk you through all the steps, answer your questions, make sure I understand your business model so that like we know where that this is actually going to be valuable to you. Make recommendations as to your custom situation. And then at the end of the call, I'm like, cool, I'll send you the recording. You now know exactly what to do. You just saw the strategy I just did. So like you should be good to go. You should be good to take this and run with it and go do this yourself, and you don't have to pay me. And I used to tell people all the time, I'm going to show you how to do this so you don't have to hire a marketing company like mine. And it's so funny because you think like, well, you're just giving away the farm for free. All the expertise, all the testing that you've done, Cole, with all these different agents, you're just giving that away for free. And the idea is, yeah, the alternative is that I look like every other marketing agency. And so you think, okay, well, why would they ever work with you? Because a lot of times, people don't need information, they need transformation. And so what happens, sometimes people would take that and say, cool, I'm going to try this out and I'll see if it works. Like, thanks so much. I said, hey, no problem, have a great day. And then that was the end of it. And only one time out of the hundreds of agents that I did that with, only one time did somebody actually implement it. And they said, hey, this was great, this worked awesome. And I said, wow, you actually implemented it. That nobody ever does that. Because, you know, the agent then goes off, and any small business owner knows you're busy, you have other things to do, and you get distracted and you don't end up doing it, and then you might not remember it, and it just becomes difficult, right? Because you might know how to do everything, but doing it is the difficult part, not knowing how to do it, right? And so that's where a lot of times these calls would end with, without me pitching anything. Because I was doing cold email, so I used to have to say in the cold email when I reached out to people, I will not pitch you on any service. I'm purely going to help you for free. And then they would say, at the end of the call, they'd be like, okay, cool, well, how do you make money? Or what are you selling? Or tell me about your services. And then I would say, well, are you sure? I told you I would do this with no offers. Like, are you sure it's okay to talk about what I do for folks? And they'd be like, yeah, sure, go right ahead. And then I would be like, well, everything I just showed you, we do that for you. So that you don't have to do anything, and you don't have to worry about if you're going to do it right because we have the expertise. Like, we made the whole system. And then people would go, wow, okay, like, yeah, I might want to hire you for that. And it's so nice because instead of like the straightforward method where you're basically saying, hey, like, here's how awesome I am, work with me over working with anybody else, and you have to have a really good sales experience and good sales skills to be able to land that transaction or land that client through the straightforward method. But the trust building method, you basically are putting your foot forward, you're in a really great way, and you're establishing yourself and providing value so that you actually don't need to be as good at sales. You don't have to have as perfect of a system, because you have to have a good offer, but you don't have to have as good of a system because at the end of the day, you're giving something away for free. And if it's highly valuable, which that's the trick there, that's why the offer needs to be good, then what ends up happening is that people say, wow, like, that was great. Like, I really like this person. Like, I want to know how else they might be able to help me. And then you say, well, here's our service. Like, here's how we do this. And it's a much more natural way to be like, yeah, I might want to hire you. Like, let's work together, right? And so instead of being like, I have to push so hard to get this sale, I have to call this lead every single day. Instead, it's like, we just have a great rapport because I just started off the relationship by giving you something that was valuable. So it takes time, and you need to be creative, and you need to test out to find the right offer there. But if you're not great at sales, or at least you don't like sales as much, and you want to take that off of the difficulty ladder, then ultimately at the end of the day, you know, that's a really great method for you. So now let's talk about the relationship building. This is kind of like the trust building method on steroids, which is that, like, you know, again, the examples are like a local event, like a get together, or poker night, like the example I gave, or like a book club. But this is essentially just leading by starting, just establishing yourself as a friend, right? And just building that connection. So when they're ready to buy or sell, you know, they know that you're a real estate agent. It's like you're a close friend, and you've done these things for them, and you've positioned yourself as like a friendly person who they have a good time with. It makes sense that they would use you. This is the same reason why agents are always blown away that people will use, you know, their cousin or their brother or their friend or whatever as their real estate agent, even though that agent might not be that good, or they might be a part-time agent with not a whole lot of experience. And you say, why would you pick that person as your agent? Well, the answer is actually really simple. It's that they have trust there. They have a relationship there. Why would they hire a stranger when they could do their friend a solid by getting them a commission check, and they want to work with them anyway and they like them, so they want to hire them, right? This is the issue that a lot of agents run into. They think that, like, well, I'm an expert because I've been in the industry for so long. It's like, okay, but like your expertise only has so much value to your actual client, because your expertise is valuable, but at the end of the day, their relationship with their friend is more valuable. And if they can help their friend and, take care of buying or selling a home, which they want to do anyway, then that's an easier decision. So, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter necessarily if you have more expertise, because if they have a good friend or family member that they want to help out, then they're going to do that because it makes them feel good. So this is where building a relationship can be so helpful. And this method is so effective at getting a transaction. It doesn't feel like sales at all, because it's just, they want to work with you. You want to work with them. It's an easy decision to make for them. Now, the con is pretty obvious. This takes a lot of time. If you're actually building a relationship, and a real relationship, because you don't want to be a phony, right? You don't want to just make this stuff up and just like, act like a friend. Like, you actually want to like establish a relationship and meet these people and have a good, you don't have to be best friends, but like, you want to have a good relationship with them. That's the whole point. And so it takes time, a huge time input, and it's a very slow thing to start. But the cool thing is that it is so hard to replicate it, because agents, just on average, people in general, everybody in general, is going to try to take the path of least resistance, right? And so a lot of people are going towards the straightforward method, trying different versions of that, and trying Facebook ads, and if that doesn't work, then they'll try Google ads, and if that doesn't work, they'll try LinkedIn ads. They'll just keep trying things. But in reality, it's not the platform that's maybe holding them back. It might be their system. And so if you're out here building a relationship with everybody in your market and offering these cool things and just having an inside track to being their friend, then it's a lot easier than somebody just putting up an ad saying, hey, work with me, I'm a really great real estate agent. And so that's how the relationship building can be great. And if you couple this with something really fun like a poker night, if you enjoy poker or whatever your hobby is, then it's awesome, right? It's kind of, kill two birds with one stone kind of thing. So it's great. And by the way, referrals too, right? Like, if you actually are friends with them and you're establishing a relationship, then they might just refer somebody. It doesn't even have to be somebody who is a part of your get together or your club, right? It could actually just be something that's really, really effective. And so at the end of the day, you need to know which one of these is actually going to be best for your strengths, right? So like what I say here is that if you're a really good salesperson and you're really good at marketing and you're cool, like let's say you're fairly like tech savvy and things like that. So like, tech's not a problem. And sales is good. Then you really should go in the straightforward method. Even if you're just a really good marketer and like you're just really good at like digital marketing like things, the straightforward method is probably the gameplay, because you can outwork the other people out there. People are out there just like creating like the simplest ads in the world. They're not even A/B testing. They're not even running multiple ads. They don't know what kind of a budget to use. They don't know how to even work or even connect their ads to their their CRM and then have a good system there. Like, if you don't know how to do that, then this is not the method. But if that feels like a strong suit to you as a real estate agent, then you can really outperform a lot of people. And again, you have the benefits of it being, niche, or I should say, tactical. You can really quickly change these things, and you have that ability to kind of get started very quickly, which is nice. Now, if let's say like maybe you don't have the skills for sales, right? Like you maybe even you do, but you just don't like sales, right? You just don't like being on a conversation where you're just trying to pitch somebody something. But let's say you have a really good offer. Maybe you also are an interior designer, right? Let's say like you have like a thing where you can say, hey, like let me interior design your home, or like let me just like help you out with the layout of your home and all that stuff, and I'm also just happen to be a real estate agent. Then you could do free interior design services, right? Do a mock-up, do a walkthrough of their house and recommend things, right? I have a client of mine who runs a small boutique store of like really fun like pieces of furniture and like pieces that would go into a house, like set pieces and paintings and things like that. Because she's an interior designer and a real estate agent. And so the whole marketing model we're building for her is how do we get people into her storefront and establish the relationship that way, right? So it's really the trust building side of things that we're running for her. And that's where if you have a good offer like that, and you like to basically, you're cool with like meeting with people and kind of establishing that relationship, and maybe you have a little bit more time, then this is something that's going to be really beneficial for you, is a trust building funnel where essentially you're setting yourself up to give away something for free. And here's the trick, and this really happens with all of these things, but the offer is really the key, right? The offer is really king here, because whether it's the straightforward method or it's the trust building or it's the relationship building, you know, if it's a bad event that you're doing for the relationship building, then nobody's going to want to go. If it's an offer that nobody really cares about, then it doesn't matter that it's free. And if you just have a really terrible ad, then like, you know, you're never going to get any quality leads anyway. So at the end of the day, like the offer is going to be really important here. And then lastly, like if you just want like an easy acquisition, and you are cool with it taking, like, you know, you have time and you want to kind of enjoy maybe the process a little bit more. I told you I can't spell when I'm typing, or I can't spell when I'm talking. And you want to enjoy the process a little bit more, and you're okay with it being something that's going to take a lot longer to kind of build up, then the relationship building process is by far the best for you. There's a million different ways to iterate this, but I want to make this video because, you know, there are so many folks that I've helped with ads and with things like that where they say, oh, I've tried these ads and it just doesn't work, right? Like I've tried Facebook ads, it doesn't work in New York City. I've heard that directly. Oh, my marketer says that these ads don't work in for clients looking to buy a home in Florida, you know, who are based in like South America, right? I helped a client who, or I helped a lead who was struggling with that, and their marketing agency they're working with said like, oh, these ads just don't work in South America, you know, or in Latin American countries. It's just not the case. These different tools can work no matter what. Think about it like a bicycle. A bicycle can work no matter what. But if you don't know how to ride a bike, you're not going to go anywhere, right? You're going to fall, and then you're going to be blaming the bike that the bike that made you fall over. It's not the bike's fault. It's the rider. It's the operator that is actually causing the issues here. And every single one of these models has produced amazing results for different real estate agents and under any single platform, right? What's really cool here is that on the actual specific like lead gen side, you know, you have all these different platforms, but these platforms can work for any one of these models, right? Like you can use like LinkedIn ads to get a straightforward system where people are just booking a call and you have a good sales system, and you're just going through the numbers and getting a good ROI that way. You can run like, for instance, you know, meta ads or like organic YouTube, you know, videos that can get people to book an appointment to talk with you. By the way, an example of this whole kind of model here is in the link below. I have a free consultation call where I'm going to show you actually the strategy, just like I told you before, the strategy where I'm going to show you how to do this yourself. And I'm not going to pitch you on anything. And if it's something that you see this, you say, this is awesome, but I don't want to do it myself, then we'll have a conversation to see if it makes sense. But that's an example of a different platform here. And then maybe you use like, you know, meta ads or TikTok, you know, organic to tell people in your local area about, you know, your poker night that you're doing, or your open, you know, your book club that you're inviting people to. Maybe it's an online D&D session. If you're into D&D, I am, but, you know, maybe not. It's more niche, but you know, the platform doesn't really matter, and you know, the location doesn't matter, and none of the things matter except for your offer, your system, and what's going to be something that you can actually execute on, right? Because if you're not good at sales, then you can't do the straightforward method with a lot of expectation of results. You know, if you need to get like transactions really fast, then doing the relationship building model is not a good model for you. So you need to pick and choose what's going to be the best model for you. And I've seen all of these work, but it depends on the person, right? Because any of these things can work, but it depends on how you will work it. And that's where your preferences and your skills actually matter. So I hope this was helpful. And guys, check out the link down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.